In today's video, I'm gonna be showing you how to calculate the last 28 days of sales and also to calculate the year-to-date sales. Alright, so the data we're gonna use for our exercise today is a sales table that you see here, and it covers 3 years and it contains 150,000 rows. Alright, and it shows the total sales of each product over 3 years. Now, the last 28 days of sales is a good measure of your sales performance because it gives you a trend of your monthly average. Let's say it's basically a moving month and it moves one day at a time. And when you look at it closely, it gives you an idea of your daily sales performance. So if it's trending down, your sales, your daily sales are dropping. If it's trending up, then your total daily sales are, picking up. And you can make some decision based on that rather than looking at the daily sales them alone. All right. So the way we're going to do that, we cannot do it on this table, so we're going to first create a summary table. So let's create the summary table. We're going to open a new sheet and we're going to create a 2-column table, and we format it, and this is the beauty of Excel here. So we've formatted the table so Excel understand that this is a flat table, and we're going to name the first column date. And we're going to automate the process here as much as possible. The idea of the summary table is going to give us a table where the date is only mentioned once. So it's an incremental date, right, that contains all the days. And this is the table that we can calculate the last 28 days of sales in a meaningful way. And when you create a chart, it will actually show you a good trend. So we're going to make this automatic. So we're going to find out first the minimum date, okay, of the sales table. So we're going to say minimum, and the sales table is called actually sales, and we're going to see what the minimum date is. And this is the minimum date, and it's actually the serial number for it, so we change it to a date. We basically change the format and how it looks. So now we're going to create an incremental, just expand it a little bit. So you see here it's just the same date, but we're going to make it incremental by 1. So we're going to go back in the function here. So we're going to say, we're going to add the incremental here. So we're going to say the minimum date plus the row, the current row that we are working with, minus the row of the header of this table, which is our starting point, okay, and then we're gonna say -1 to get the first date correct. All right, and as you can see here, we got up to 14th of January. Now we know that our data covers 3 years. All right, so we're just gonna resize this table so that it covers 1,000 rows, which is around 3 years. All right, and if we need, we can just expand the table even more. So we're going to resize the table here. So rather than go into C16, we're going to make it go to C1000. All right. Okay. So as you can see here, if we open up the date column, we can see 3 years there. So now the second thing is to calculate the total sales, and we're going to use some F function, and that's because we're trying to find out the total sales of each day. So we're going to use SUMF, not SUMFs. So SUMF is going to ask us for the range that we would like to filter, and that's going to be our date table in the sales, date column in the sales table. All right, and then now we're going to filter it by this date, and the sum range is going to be the total sales in the sales table. All right, which is this one. Okay, so with that, and as you can see here, this is the total sales of each day. So we just format the numbers correctly, get rid of the decimals, so it is, you know, nicely looking now. With that, we finished the summarized table. We can start now calculating the last 28 days of sales. Now to calculate the last 28 days of sales, what we're gonna do is basically is gonna say to this table, sum the values in the total sales column here, where the date is less than or equal to day, but greater than this date, which is under the question, the date that we have, you know, in the same row, minus 28 days. And we're going to use the SUMIFS functions. So the SUMIFS function is asking us for the sum range. The sum range is actually this one. Now the criteria range 1, which is basically the first column to filter. The first column to filter is the date column, and we're going to filter it by anything less than or equal to the date in question. Anything less than or equal, and we need the ampersand here, and we select the date in question, which is this one. Okay. And the criteria range 2, the second column that we need to filter, which is basically the same column, the date column, but this time the criteria, we want you know, to filter this column with anything above the date in question minus 28 days. So basically we're gonna say greater than, and the date in question, which is this date, minus 28 days. And this is, my friends, gonna give us the last 28 days of sales when we hit enter, of course. So we name the column last 28 days sales. All right, so just format it nicely here. Now let's calculate the year to date. So the year to date, what we're gonna do basically, it's summing up all the sales numbers from January 1st to the date in question, or basically to the date that we are in at the moment. All right, so this is basically what the year to date is. And to do that, we're gonna say, oh sorry, yeah, that's gonna be some F's for sure. The sum range, we're gonna sum the total sales, and the first column is gonna be this one. What we're gonna calculate is basically anything below the current date. So this is gonna be anything before or equal, so before or equal to this current date, which is this one. So anything less than our date in question. This is our first filter, and then we're gonna filter the date column again, but this time the criteria that we're gonna filter with, it's gonna be anything above or equal, because we need to include January 1st as well. And now we would like to get January 1st, so we're gonna construct it with the date function, and the year is we're gonna take it from here. So it's gonna be the year for our date in question, and so this is for January, and this is for the first day in January, and we just hit enter, and the calculation is the way we want it. Okay, so I hope you guys learned something from this, but before we go, let me show you how the curve looks like. So the last 28 days of sales, if you click on it and you go to the quick chart here or summaries, and you see, so the chart, as you can see here, gives you, you know, how your like 28 days, so this gives you kind of the roughly the average monthly total that you are having. So it's a moving total. Okay, and as you can see here, there are some drops here, you know, from this point to this point, which indicate there's a drop in the daily sales, but it then picked up and then it dropped again. So this gives you, you know, an idea what's controlling your sales. Okay, and maybe you can do something about it. Cool. So I hope you guys you know, found this useful, and hope to see you next time.